Buenas tardes, continúa.
Good afternoon, and let's continue with today's program in the Day of Animation of the region of Madrid, 2023. We have with us Christian Dan, an animator with a very long experience in animation. I always talk to him. He's a great animator, a great teacher, a great singer, in fact. You can listen to him sing too if you wish, and let's go ahead with the presentation.
¿Qué tal? Muchas gracias por...
Thank you very much for coming. I think one of the greatest things that people have is to donate their time. So I think it's great that you are here to see me. Thank you very much. I'm very happy that you took the time to be here with me, because you could be out taking substances or at the cinema or whatever. So thank you very much. I really thank you for being here. And first of all, thank you, Manuel. Thank you to the regional government of Madrid for inviting me to be here. My name is Christian. I've been working in the animation industry for about 18 years. And I'm sorry to say, because it makes me sound even older, and I've worked with many directors that have helped me grow as a professional, and that's very important, because, and you'll see it as you come in and you start being more used to being in the industry. And I've worked with directors, like people who had been in Pixar for 25, 30 years. I work with directors of real image cinema that had never done an animation film, but that have won Oscars in real image cinema, like Campanella, who got an Oscar for El secreto de tus ojos, The Secret of Your Eyes, and it was his first film. I've worked with Spanish directors that had never done animation, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my professional life. And I always say this, that for me, one of the productions I liked the most to participate in was Mortadelo y Filemón. And Nico Peregote, in fact, Victor Monigote, sorry, will be the next speaker here, and is the film that I've enjoyed the most in terms of working there. I found Victor Monigote the other day, actually, and I said, well, whenever I go to an event, I always say that Mortadelo and Filemón was the best film for me in terms of how I worked at the time, how I felt. And so I'm saying it here again today. I'll tell you an anecdote later. Well, actually, I always say that animators are like horses. I go from here to there all the time, okay? So I beat around the bush a lot. I'm really sorry, but you're just going to have to hold on with me. I would just like to say to you that over the last 18 years, I've had a lot of experience. So anyway, working with Cesar was great, because he made a film with a lot of love and devotion, and he really cared for his artists, and that's really important. And I'm going to stress that a lot throughout the whole talk, because obviously I've come here to talk about Mario Bros, but I wanted to also talk about my experience, because I think the industry of animation is great, and if I'm working on this after 18 years, it's because of something, because I like it, obviously, but it also has a not so nice side, and many times this is not told, and I think it's important that you know it. So maybe halfway through the talk, I'll start looking like something like a hater, but it will be with lots of love from the tip of my heart. If I go red, it's because I'm saying something bad. But you should know that the industry has good times, bad times, but in any case, it's a beautiful industry to work for. You see, where was I? Yes, Cesar. Cesar was great. And then I work with multinationals with a lot of money, that I think they've got like a tree planted that, gives them money. And it's been the worst thing for me, because that's what happens in large companies. The more money they have, the worse they do things. I'm not going to give names in this talk, okay? I'm only going to say Mario, Luigi, Tove, and Peach, okay? No more. It's true. But it's not just the companies where I work. But for instance, there's a famous documentary in Disney Plus that talks about the making of Frozen 2, I think. And it's interesting, because it's like super cool, and we work really hard, people sleeping in the studio, and you think, well, that's great for you, but not for the people that have to sleep in the studio. These companies with so much money, they find holes and they just cover it with money. So instead of saying there's a problem here, there's a hole here, let's see where the problem is. I only found small companies concerned about that. They don't have resources. They have to find different ways of doing things. It's just different. So I've worked in all type of studios so far. Mortadelo y Filemón, which was where I felt more comfortable with, even though it had a very limited budget. With a studio in Barcelona, very small. For instance, now we are developing a first film of this studio in Barcelona, and the new film will come out soon. And it's great. I feel very comfortable there too, because I think when you work for large companies, it's great, but it's like you are just part of an Excel spreadsheet. However, when you work for smaller companies, they kind of give you more value. Basically, I'm just telling you that you shouldn't think that your objective should be Pixar or Disney or DreamWorks. So you could have a much better life working for smaller studios where you actually feel part of the company and you see the added value. So do not get frustrated if you don't make it to Disney or Pixar, because it really doesn't matter. So I've worked in many places and I've been very happy. And also, since I'm here, I have to say a bit of advertising. Live and subscribe. I've got a YouTube channel where I do animation lessons for free. You can find me on Instagram or YouTube and subscribe. I was going to bring my own t-shirt, but I thought that was too much. So just for you to know me a little bit better, I'm going to show you my demo reel, which is a very small part of what I've been doing all this time. But I don't want you to get too bored, and I want you to see a sample of what I do. So let me show you the demo, and I'll mention a few things. But before we talk about Mario, you have to create some drama around it. I can't just go straight to the topic of Mario, right? No, 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 no. This is cinema. You have to give it a bit of a drama in it. So first, I would like to tell you how I got there, the things that happened to me. I have to tell you something. And you may leave the room when I tell you that, or you may stone me to death. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you. But let's first watch the demo, which is in fact on this side. Okay, let me just show you this then.
Everything. The world out there is just a reminder of all that's lost. So I gotta sort the candy. Gotta sort the candy.
Not everything's gone. Greta, Boomer, they're all still there.
I can't bear to look them in the eye.
Why? Do you think they blame you? That's crazy.
They don't blame me. They count on me. And I can't deliver. Not anymore.
Sure, you protect her with your life. Hey, Boomer, what is going on around here?
What does it look like? We're at war!
War? There's no fighting in Wonderland.
Stay put. Because if they see us, they will... Save yourself!
The what? Boomer, finish the sentence. The what?
I'm awake. I'm awake. We did it.
You did it.
I did it. I did it?
You only get so many chances to find a forever family, and the older you get, the harder it is. She's meeting a new couple on Sunday. If I could just give her a little good luck. But you can't give someone something you've never had. Still, if I could...
¡Estáis invitados a la boda real!
¡Bien!
Don
that's it. Thank you. So you're probably gonna forget, but I'm sure that you'll keep that song in your mind forever, the Pink of Peaches. But before I started working for Mario, I worked in a Spanish company. Well, I was in Spain, but it was bought by the Americans, the company. But anyway, and I realized that the very last jobs I did for that company were tough. They were really tough, not just because it was not nice, but because I had to do things about people who were terminally ill, who were very sick. And now that I look at it, I thought, obviously, then when I got to Mario, I couldn't animate happy picture because they gave me, for instance, that the lady on the phone, she was being called because she's about to die. Then there was one of Blas. She's the alien, and she's actually very great because she's also gonna die. Then the other girl who's depressive because everything goes bad for her. And then when it got to Mario, I just couldn't get happy really. But anyway, then I skipped and I was able to do really fun things. This has been recorded, right? So that lady that was sick died, but then the executives, Mr. Velillas, thought, no, let's not kill her off. She gets really, really sick, and that's it. And we had to remake the whole film anyway. But those things that happens a lot, is what they call the famous screenings, because you think you're going to animate and that's it. But actually, no. You're a tiny, tiny link in a whole chain, and at the end of the chain, you have the big suited people that make decisions, and sometimes they have no idea, but they're the ones with the money. So they control the film, and you are doing the animation, and then suddenly they say you have to change the ending, you have to change that or this. And throughout the whole process, they do screenings. Basically, they show the film to these directors. And whatever you've got of the film, you show it to them, and then they go, no, I don't like this, let's change it. And then there's a retake, and they said, no, so we have to remake all these shots, this is not going to happen anymore, now they've only got COVID, they're not going to die, things like that. And then it's not just done once, twice, or 3 times. You may have to do that 5 and 6 times and redo all your work, and that happens in all the productions in the world. I think one of the most recent cases that turned viral actually was Spider-Verse, where the artists are very upset because they changed the film. Actually, they actually changed the whole film. Many artists work for a film, they do their work, they leave, and when they go to the cinema, they think, but I didn't do that shot. And it's because many times you've done your work, then you left. There's been a screening after you left. They have asked for changes, and you are no longer there, so one of your colleagues had to do it. And then you think, okay, so who owns this now? Because I started, but it was finished by someone else. Well, those things happen, so don't be scared, because that happens. And it happens, I mean, in large productions, the more money they have, the more they like to burn the money, right? And what I was saying about Disney, that I left it halfway, is that you have this famous documentary about how fantastic 1 week from the premiere there's still no ending. Fantastic, isn't it? It's wonderful, because they're going to pay additional hours. Okay, in Disney they pay the extra hours, but not here. And it's not nice to work so many hours running, doing sequences and then changing them. I think that's one of the negative parts of the industry. But as I said at the beginning, even though you can see my hate speech, then it's wonderful anyway, because if I am here, it's because I love animation. I don't do it for money, okay? So it has just the good things and bad things. Okay, unless I was going to talk about something else, right? Yes, I finished animating people who were about to die, and then I went to Mario. And how did this happen? Well, Mario was done in Illumination. It used to be called Maldaf. It's a company that is in France. It's the company of the Minions. And I did it at home. I didn't do it in Paris. I lived in Paris a few years ago. After Planet 51, I went to Paris to do a film there. But I came back because I didn't like Paris. I mean, if you think that Madrid is stressful, you haven't lived in Paris. It's horrible. But multiply by 1,000, and it's really cold. If you think Madrid is cold, multiply that by 100, because they have that wonderful river, the Seine, and it gives you a lot of cold, and there's lots of people from Paris, and that's another problem. Is this being recorded? Anyway, anyway. I'm not saying this. Even the French people say. The French people say the worst thing about Paris are the Parisians. It is what it is. So I know I'm going to get lots of enemies. But anyway. So I came back from Paris and I didn't want to return there. And one thing happened in the world that was quite bad, called COVID. And the truth is that it was horrible. But if we can get something positive from that, if you can take anything, is that the remote work started being an option. Mario was running late. I mean, they were already 2 years working on it. After the screening, they wanted to change the film, and they were not going to make it. So they needed more people to work on. So I was there with and I thought this is the right time because I didn't want to be in the other company anymore. So they called me. I had an interview, and I joined. And I should like to say something here now, actually. Something funny happened. As I said, I was in Paris in 2009, working and living there, and suffering, mainly. But it's also true that the croissants were really nice, I must say that. So I was working there, and I left before the production ended. I just couldn't take it because of everything I said, the cold, the stress, the people. I was there on my own. I just couldn't take it. So I left. And when I left, a new wave of French animators were coming in to do that had been in another film and that were going to go finish the film that I was also doing. That was in 2009 and I left anyway. 13, 14 years later, 15 years later, there's a vacancy to do remote work in Mario. And the day of the interview, there were the leads and the animation directors of Mario Bros were there. And one of the animation directors said, during the interview, he said, "I know you." And he said it in French, and I didn't understand it. But then he said it in English, and I understood it. And I said, "Well, I don't know who you are, actually." And he said, he told me my name, and he said, "You're Christian. You were working there. I finished the film that you left stranded, basically." He didn't say that, but I could see it in his eyes. And I said, "Oh, yes." And he said, "I know you also. Your scenes were really good. I really liked them." And so he said, "I liked it. I really like your work when I saw it." So they trusted me because in Illumination they had never done remote work before. So the fact that I had been in Paris before, I nearly didn't go, but then I went. I did the scenes because I wanted to work properly. And it turns out that this guy came in later, saw my work, and became the director of animation later for Mario Bros. Well, I don't believe in fate or horoscopes or nor in anything. No, I don't believe in witches either, but I do believe in luck. And it's not that I believe really in luck. You have to work for it. But it's like playing the lottery. You're not gonna win. Well, maybe, but it's difficult. But if you don't play, you're definitely not gonna win, right? So this is the same. In animation industry, you need to work really hard so that when the luck comes your way, you're prepared. Anyway, so the planets aligned, and I started working, and that's where we go. Working for Paris from my home in Madrid, and I find I'm gonna say something and you're gonna hate me, but I find that I find that I'm working in a very well-known project. Who doesn't know Mario Bros, right? But I didn't know Mario Bros. I never played Mario Bros, not a single game. I really like Sonic, Sega, and I didn't like Nintendo at all, actually. But I'm not a gamer. I've only played it 3 times in my life. But you get there and you think, wow, I've never played Mario. But I told them so. They didn't say anything. In fact, it doesn't happen. It's something else that you need to know, that you don't need to be super fans of something to be able to work in a project. You don't need to be able to be an excellent artist to be in Disney. I had never played with Mario, but it didn't matter because everything was very well organized. The production was done. There was a lot of library work. So when I wanted to do Mario Smile, I went to the library, to the gallery, and I could find the one that better fit in my scene. So that's really important. You need to have a very good pre-production work right from the beginning of the production. That's really, really important. So that was enough. And then I had some colleagues. There were 3 Spaniards working for Mario. And some of them sent me videos saying, look, this is what I left. And look what's in your scene. It looks really good. It's perfect magic. And I thought, well, good, I left it then. I was going to change it, but anyway, so I go there. Everything's in French. No, in English. With a total new pipe. He was really, really prepared. French people are really great for that. Everything was well ready. But you need to do a pipe, a totally new pipe. So one of the questions that they used to ask me a lot, people that are studying animation, etc., they said, but what software do you use, or what program, or what platform? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you use Blender or Maya or Match or Max. No, Max. Well, okay, you can use Max. Or it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the technique doesn't matter. You can learn technique. The artistic knowledge is what matters. In fact, when I was working in Paris, there was a film done in a software that is called Offimex. It does no longer exist. It's a software that then was bought by Autodesk. And it was so similar to Maya that they thought, well, it makes no difference to have 2 similar programs. So I mean, software, you just learn. They're all the same, except Blender, who's horrible. There's many people who are fans of Blender. I'm creating more enemies than I should. But anyway, it doesn't matter the software. It doesn't matter the pipe. Because you get there, you sit, you learn, and that's it. The first few days is like a huge amount of information coming your way. But then you learn. You really learn. That's it. There's no mystery to it. So don't be scared. And then there's the remote work. Working from home, I had never been a freelance or anything like that. And it's really important that timetables, respecting your personal hygiene, don't work in pajamas. Because I know many people who work on their pajamas. And I find it, I hate it. I don't know how people can work like that. And if you're not careful with your timetables and with your life, you believe you're like this, but the truth is like you're like this. It's horrible. I know people who have been able to time travel because the working hours are totally different. They wake up later and later, and they finish later and later, and they end up in a loop, and they just go around the earth again. So my suggestion and my advice is to have, a specific timetable, wake up in the morning, have a shower, have breakfast, Otherwise it's too chaotic. It's, for your mental health. Anyway, I have to say I never work in my pajamas, okay? And then it comes the imposter syndrome. I don't know if you know it, but this is the syndrome when you go to a new job and you think you're not worth anything. And you think, oh, my colleagues are all so good and I feel bad. It's a very normal syndrome. It happens, and it's good that it happens, really. Just like I said before, that in that studio in Paris, I felt too good because I don't like I don't like false humbleness, but humility. Sorry, I was good. I was in Planet 51. I'm not sure that you've seen when they go into the time machine and it's got a lot of gravity and everything's really heavy, and then you go into the capsule and you're like, God, well, Planet 51 was like that for me. It was a capsule where I was stoned and beaten up in a good sense. So we finished with everything finished really well with Disney and Pixar because we trained really hard and really well. And when we came out in any studio, well, it was like heaven for us. Any other studio was so easy, which is not good because it's always good to have people who are better than you around you. Otherwise, you don't grow and you stagnate. Anyway, but that was the time, and it's never happened to me again. It only happened to me then in Paris. So this time, this didn't happen. It was quite the opposite. I started seeing the Mario film, and about 60% of it had been done, right? There were some sequences that had been finished with render, others not, others were blocking, others were story, but anyway. In anime, there was about 60% of the animation already done. And you start watching the film, like I did, and you think, Oh my God, I'm not even gonna last a month here. The French people are really good. Despite being French, they're really good. You have to acknowledge that. So I got there and I thought, oh my God. Well, me and the other two Spaniards, actually, Luis and Pablo, are probably over here somewhere. And we thought, okay, what a pleasure. It was great. We can put on our status that we've been to Mario Bros. And this is the end of our story. It's going to be a quick ending. But then it wasn't so bad. First of all, because if you're hired, it's because they've seen your demo, because they like you, and 80 or 90% of your job is done, really, basically. It's like a Tinder date. If you meet for a coffee, it's because things are going well, right? Well, this is the same. You have to do things really badly for them to fire you. So it's the same with animation. If they've hired you, it's for a reason. You've already done 90% of the things that you needed to do. Unless you're crazy, you're not going to get fired, really. In fact, I know very few cases in the industry of all the companies where I've worked where they fired people, except when there's cutbacks or things like that. Otherwise, no. If you don't do anything crazy, there's no, you'll stay there unless there's layoffs. Anyway, so after the initial shock, you start animating, you don't feel so nervous anymore, and everything's good. But the imposter syndrome is always going to be there, and you're probably going to have to suffer it. In fact, every shot, I wouldn't say every company. I don't think that you'll have to go through this with every company. This is going to happen in every film. So you start this scene thinking, wow, I'm really good. I'm much better than I thought. Because you see it on step it and everything looks great. But then you move it on to the next stage and you think you're terrible. It doesn't work. And then the next day you wake up and you think, actually, it's not so bad. It's like a roller coaster being an animator. Sometimes you feel good, sometimes you feel bad. So the imposter syndrome is something you're going to suffer again and again. Don't worry about it. And when you work from home, you have to have constant communication because otherwise you are thousands of kilometers from Paris, you're on your own, and you need to be encouraged by the leads and the colleagues, etc. So that's really good. You need to be aware of it because sometimes I've seen companies that work in remote and the artist is quite left aside, is outcast. After all these scenes that you watched on my demo, after Mario, I'm focusing more on the supervision and direction of animation. So I haven't been able to do animation and I have to lead teams. And I've taken this into consideration a lot because I've experienced that and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to avoid it. So it's very important that you have the artist very well communicated, very well treated. They need to feel accompanied. And that's why I was talking about horses and I give always that example. I'm a fan of horses. And cowboys in the Wild Wild West, when they needed to do long distances, when they had to go down hills, mountains, they let the reins go so that the horse didn't trip, so that he knew where to go and he could choose the path. And the horse would go down properly, no problems. However, many studios, especially, as I said, studios with a lot of money, they take the artist, aka the horse, and they hold on to the reins very much and they control him too much, and every other minute they're going, but yeah, I need it for tomorrow, I need it for tomorrow, I need it for tomorrow, and then tomorrow is I need it for today, I need it for today. It's a pain. And so when I've had to lead, I've tried to not do that. I have to say, you are the horses, you are like a horse, you're going to go down on your own, but you have to be accountable as well. And if you know you're going to have to meet something, meet it, okay? So that's why I always say, let the reins go and just let the other people be accountable for what they do.
Y eso, y hay que interesarse de verdad por...
So you have to really be interested in the artist because it's very frustrating when, as an artist, you see that you have certain needs that are not being met by the company. So this is something that I prepared to talk about teams, really. But since I know that we're here to talk about Mario, but this is really important, you guys. If you ever have in a company, you have to really care for the artists and treat them well. So I started with Mario. So I got to Mario, and suddenly the first day, well, this is the first thing that I did in the movie. So I got there, and I saw that I was being somehow fed to the lions, and they said, no, this is a very easy shot so that you can start working on that. So they gave me Mario, Peach, and 2 gods. Let me just show you the shot, and then you can see.
Vale.
There, so let's show it again. Actually quite difficult because I cannot stop it, but I have here, okay, there, I have those 2 characters and then the guards that are behind the door, and it was really very difficult because they had to all get out, and when the doors would open you needed to see them at a specific distance. So when you open the doors they could not be too far away, so they were very, very close to the door. And they were all scrunching up together, you know, that the royal guard with their feathers and everything. So when I opened the door, we could see everything. You could see that they were all scrunching together. Not now, I mean, but obviously, I thought, how do I do this? So that when they opened the door, they're all in the right positions, they're at the right distance, they're not too far away from each other, but they're not all stepping on each other. So there is these distances are so difficult, and I thought, how do I do this? Oh my god, how could they do this to me? So I mean, it wasn't easy. This was not a technically easy shot. I mean, from an artistic point of view it wasn't difficult, but from a technical standpoint it was. So it was a bit of a fight. I suffered quite a bit. I learned French only to insult them. No, that's not true, but it was really hard. And when you get to a new company, you always have this tendency of over-animating. When you get to a new place, you say, yeah, hold on tight, I'm going to show you what I can do. Until they tell you, no, 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 stop this, stop that, don't animate that much. You can just lower the intensity. So every shot was like the Space Mountain. So you start thinking I'm great, and then you think I'm the worst, but in the end I did it. I mean, it wasn't that difficult. And the same thing will happen with you. So I thought, what a present you have given me. Now, as a footnote, when I finish this shot, okay, it's a bit false. I don't know if you see it, but there's a bit of a trick that I played here. There's something that I exaggerated here. Did you see something weird? You have to focus on Mario. There's nothing artistic. You haven't seen it, then that means I did it well. No? Okay. Don't you see that Mario is huge? He's almost like Peach, but that's not true. Mario is not that big. During the rest of the movie, he's much smaller than that. But that was one of the screenings that they went through. Nintendo had to supervise all of these things, and luckily enough, I did not get stuck in that. But then I got a note from Nintendo saying Mario Bros is very, very small. But when we saw it there, just close to Peach, he was very, very small. So they asked me to scale him up and do it 7 times bigger. But that's for those of you who are Mario fans. You haven't seen it, so I thought, do you want me to multiply his scale by 20? Then I'll do it. So that's it, the magic of cinema. So once I did that, I just gave them the shot, and that was it. I thought I will be able to eat for another month because they will be paying my salary for next month. So I showed you the previous shot with this gentleman. I can't remember what his name was. What was it? Luigi? No, this one here. Yes, Kame. Was Luigi? Oh, Luigi is there. True. No, I mean this one. So in this shot, I showed you the previous one with camera, but I didn't animate that one. Oh, it's not there. Oh, it's in the demo. Okay. Yeah, true. I forgot I hadn't animated that. So in this shot, we have the previous one, where it says, you're all invited to the wedding, but then you will be sacrificed. So this shot is quite simple. This is the second one I did. And I thought, okay, this one I like a bit more because it's more simple. But then, once again, it's not that simple because this melon here that he has needed to be there because it is on his way out of the cage, and then you have 3 penguins inside of that. And I thought, well, is this some sort of vengeance? You just hired me to have some sort of vengeance, not because you like what I do. And well, same thing here. So you can just do it with patience. You will do it. So once again, I got my French dictionary and I got it. So from an acting standpoint, it was quite easy. It was actually the torture of not mixing the head up with a cell, or with a cage rather, that it should move but not too much, and then to animate the ones in the background that wasn't too difficult. So when you're animating someone in the background, they just have to breathe and that is it. There's not much more to it. No, there is a question in the audience, but I could not translate that because there wasn't a microphone. So the penguin is there, it's amazing, but that's it. The rest you cannot touch it. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. Okay, so not much more here. This does not have much either, but it was a bit long. I had to use. They have something great there, which is the fact that they have a huge library. If you want to create a face with an expression, you have a huge that library that you can get it from. And all the shots, when you've done them, you get the animation from that shot, and they put it in the library. So not just poses, but also animation. So you have a great library with poses and actions. So for instance, I want to know how this character walks or runs. If it is something quite repetitive, you can use it because that's what the library is for. So most of the times you cannot use it as is. You cannot just take the whole walking cycle and just paste it there because each shot has its own circumstances. It has to go faster or slowly. And now that I say slowly, I see that we have simultaneous translation, and I don't know if I'm speaking too quickly. I just realized about that. I'm sorry. If you're translating, I'm sorry about that. So it has to go very quickly or very slowly. So then, but I used it as a basis because, as I was saying previously, I had not animated Peach previously. I had never played Mario Bros, so I didn't really know what the story was about. So I was looking during the whole movie, and I thought, where does Peach walks? Well, where does Peach walk? And I got a shot, and then I did a bit of a mix, and then I treated it with some love, and I also had to be quite careful with the irregularities, the terrain irregularities, and so this is a bit of a technical task, not just artistic, also technical. There isn't much more to it, really. And now I wanted to tell you something that I just remembered. As I was saying, I had never played Mario Bros or anything, and actually Pablo, a colleague, told me, do you know that Mario doesn't talk in the game? And I thought, oh, I didn't know that. So there are Mario Bros games and he doesn't talk. No, he says some sentences, but that is all. And I didn't know about the polemic that there was about Chris Pratt being the voice of Mario, and I said, what's the problem? And he said, no, he doesn't talk, and he only says the sentences such as, it's me. And I thought, well, I had just watched the movie before this, and I thought, and then I started seeing the whole hate of people in the internet, people hating on it. And I thought, how people thought that a movie was going to be done with little voices like that, squeaky voices. So I thought, yes, I mean, many people were bothered by it, but then when they watched the movie, they got they quieted it down. But you cannot do a whole movie with that voice. So up to that point, I didn't have any idea about it. So what I was saying previously, Destiny, somehow I do not believe in Destiny, but at the time it did surprise me. When I had been working for a month or two, in a gap. I had already watched the movie, and then one day while I was eating a yogurt, the yogurt part of this story is very important. So I was going to throw away the cover, the yogurt cover, and it said, "This is you've got a prize. We won a prize." And it says, "I won a prize." And I thought, "Is this spam?" No, it really says prize. And actually, I had gotten a console. So you need to know that yogurts really have words. It was a Switch. It could have been Mega Drive. Well, it doesn't exist anymore, does it? I know that's very boomer. I'm sorry about that. But it was the Switch, Nintendo Switch, and I thought, well, destiny. So I got the Switch and I bought Mario Kart, and it's the only game I played, Mario Kart. So I watched the movie and I loved it. I saw the edited movie, Mario's edited movie, and I loved it, and I had so much fun, and I didn't know how to and I didn't know anything about Mario, so I thought all the fans, I'm sure, are going to be seeing lots of references and are gonna love it. And when I played Mario Kart and I watched the movie again, I thought, oh, okay, now this I understand. Oh, this little ghost says this or that, and well, silly little things, you know, but I thought, oh, now I like it even more. So that's when I realized, okay, so this is going to be a real hit, because I realized that the whole movie was fan service. It was filled with little winks to the fans. So actually, I thought it was really funny. I don't know if you've watched the movie, but when there is this sequence with the carts, I I saw the sequence and I thought, oh, okay, cool, action packed. But then when I had played the game, I saw that when you're using turbo and you're braking at the same time, everybody beat me to the game. But and I saw that when you're kind of braking and then you get boosted, and they put that in the movie, and I thought, oh, that's great. So one of the levels in Mario Kart where you're underwater and you go, there are eels, pink eels, and I was working in this scene where Mario and Luigi are with the eel. So in my head, everything clicked, everything made sense. And I thought, oh, okay. So I thought that everything in the movie was that which I was playing at, and it was actually. And I thought, well, if I had played other games, I mean, my head would be exploding. So I understood the reaction of people, and I understood that this was something big, and I understood that this was going to be a blockbuster. Now, Donkey's design, which was secret until it was premiered, before actually the premiere, I was used to the movie's donkey, and when I saw the donkey in the game, I thought, oh, it's ugly. But I thought, this is not going to be liked. No, but actually in the end, Donkey was not as polemic as Mario's voice. And I was used to the movie, and then playing with it was weird. So I got the Switch, and I think it was Mr. Miyamoto sending me a sign. Is it Miyamoto, or have I just made it up? Nintendo's creator is Miyamoto, right? And so there. We're talking about this. So when I finished this shot, they told me you have to animate everything that's on top, and I said no ways. So yes, I had to animate that, and I'm going to show it now because it is worth watching. Let's see it. Okay, so that is my contribution to this shot, the animation of that platform. Let me look at the watch. I don't see anyone around. So I'm guessing I'm fine. Now let's look at this one. So this shot, when we watched the movie and then when we saw this sequence, when I got there, it was we'd done it. I mean, it had not gone through render, but it had been animated. And I thought, well, this song is going to be a huge hit. It was my favorite sequence. This and Donkey Kong against Mario Bros. Those were my favorite sequences. And when we saw that, we said, wow, people are going to fall in love with Jack Black and Bowser and everything. And I think that's what happened. I think that people loved the song. And I was lucky to participate in this sequence. This one is the one after the credits, the post-credit sequence, and I'm going to show it now. I'll make you mine.
De este plano lo que me pasó, vamos a darle. Que yo como eso, venía de hacer gente muerta, pues me costaba, me decían, no, que se mueva más. Y yo, joder, es que yo cuando toco el piano, pues es que no, que te muevas más. Entonces, bueno, creo que al final querían más, pero yo lo dejé así. Pero querían que se exagerara mucho el movimiento de Bowser. Y luego una cosa curiosa, esto no se saldrá en el making of, pero teníamos una secuencia grabada con un piano de verdad, un tío tocando, con distintas cámaras, pero dije, pero a ver, estamos locos, o sea, no me cabían los dedos, era imposible, o sea, porque sé que mucho friki de la música del piano va a estar mirando, está tocando otra nota, vale, no es, pero se parece bastante, ¿vale? Teníamos las grabaciones e intentaba ajustar que los dedos más o menos tocaran las.
And I was trying for the fingers to be on the right keys, so they had to be at least the right notes. So more or less that was it. And if you analyze it, so what was complicated was that we did not have a system such as the one that you had in Saw and Pixar when they play the piano. I don't know if you've seen the making of, but they have done all sorts of rigs with the fingers and so on. We didn't have that. So we had to do it by hand. So each movement you had to really make it seem as he would pivot from one key to the next. So if you look at it now, you'll realize what notes he's playing. But don't look at it too much. So I had to do it by hand. I had to animate it by hand.
De los dedos.
So you needed to see the fingers pivoting from one to the other. So from this sequence, except for that, because I had to exaggerate it a bit more, what the feedback was really focusing on was the fingers. And actually, the lead who was managing that sequence also plays the piano, so we're all quite geeky, and they say, no, this finger going this way and that way, but in the end it looks good. I mean, people don't look at the hands, they look at the face, because this is universal, not just an animation. You need to know that when there is something on the screen, when you're talking to someone, we always look at the eyes, really. It doesn't matter whatever the character is doing, the first thing that we do is look at their faces. So well, it's there. If you watch the movie twice, then you will be able to focus on the hands. And another hell I went through with this sequence, it was really hellish. I'll make you mine. It was hellish, the bracelets. Those damned bracelets that are filled with spikes. These are hell on earth, because every time he moved his arms, they would dig into his body. Visually you cannot see it, but every time the arms move, I had to rotate the bracelet so that it wouldn't look like it, especially the one on top. But I managed to fool people because you can't really tell, but they're constantly rotating and moving around because I animated everything after working on the hands. And then they said, okay, now, and actually that was very funny, because when we finish the first shot, you do the block in the whip, and you polish the shot, or what you consider to be the polishing of the shot. And the first note that they gave us, all three of us, when we finished polishing it, was, when you think that the shot is correct, that's it, you can just send it for render. When you think that's the case, they say, oh, okay, good, now you can polish it. And you're like, what? It's already been polished. And obviously you think, what do I do now? So it's like when there is overclocking in your computer. Well, my brain had to overclock. This was polished, now I have to repolish it. So it was hard, but then you get the hang of it and it's not that difficult. So when they say polish, what they really refer to is these technical things, like penetrations and things like that. And I thought, oh, okay, so it's not polishing the shot, but rather finishing the fine-tuning of the shot. So my head exploded, because it's actually quite painful for animators. I don't know how many of you are animators, but it's really painful when you show a shot that is final and you say that, but this is block in, right? That equals to someone telling you they don't love you. So if you ever show a shot and you have to give feedback, don't ask. I mean, it's better to ask and say, is this blocking, or what status is the shot in? And if you say, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool, it looks cool, but you need to change certain things. That's the sandwich technique. They say never use it. It's like I say something nice, then the bad thing, and then something nice. Well, I was in a course, in a leadership course, and they said, don't do that. The sandwich thing is bullshit. But sometimes you can't avoid it. And if you ask me for feedback and I tell you that it's a nice shot, it means that it's shit. I'm telling you way too much. I mean, this is too much information. So this shot, this is when I thought, okay, French people hate me. Because technically, am I doing fine time-wise? Yes? Okay. Look at that. You can see I'm an animator, right? So let's look at this shot. Okay. So I learned that these are called side eyes, and then there is Mario Kart. You can choose a color. And I said, "Oh my God." When I saw that shot, I thought I have to animate because thankfully they don't move way and they don't move too much, but there are lots of bats rounded, so Psy Guys and Luigi, and it's a very difficult shot because I was using cycles that had already been done previously, but it's not just closing and that's it, because it depends on the speed and so on. You have to adjust it, and it's not that they're walking. They have a character in the middle which is bigger with longer legs, and it does not fit. So I thought, okay, I'm going to die. So I started doing it. Then, so I said, okay, I'm going to do a blocking, and I had these situations, so it was a blocking, and I thought I don't care because everything was slipping, it was slippery, and I thought it's very, very difficult. So if they give me very bad feedback saying we want this or that, if they tell me that it has to go slowly, then I will have to change absolutely everything. So I'm done. I'm done. But I had already been paid for a few months, so I already had some savings, and this was the shot, technically. I'm going to show you another shot that is more complicated from an artistic point of view, and technically this is the most complex one and the one that went well. They gave me some feedback with regards to Luigi's acting, but that was it. They didn't say anything about the way they walked, so I thought, that, okay, that's good. So I started recovering my faith for French people. And then when you show a block-in where everything is kind of slipping, it doesn't matter. So I started polishing it, what we call polishing. So I started polishing and changing all of the little things they asked me to do, like bats and so on. I had animated more bats, and they said, no, 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 just one. No, two. Two. One starts flying away. I think one flies off. One flies off, I think. That one. That one. So since he was out of focus, that was it. So I thought it was going to be worse, but they only asked me to animate a bat, and as I said, the rest of the cycle was actually good. This is a bit difficult because it's tied up and everything, but if the character in front goes too fast, then you could see that it was tugging from him, and if it tugs, then you have to animate Luigi, so it was very difficult. But in the end, it was actually pretty straightforward. So I think it was a very intelligent production. You don't know how many productions I've been in that have loads of money, and they're the ones that work less efficiently, and they're usually stuck on insignificant shots, things that are not necessary, and they make you suffer. And I've seen my colleagues suffer for shots that are completely insignificant that cannot even be seen in the movie. It's just some fodder in the movie, and nobody's going to look at it, and they start asking you to do retails and retails, and then they go completely crazy. And that happens a lot. The more money there is, the more crazy they get. And can't you see that these changes that you're asking me for are senseless? It's just because the shot works as it is, and it doesn't add any value to the movie, and it's taking such a long time. So all of this time that I'm going to dedicate to this, I'm not going to be able to dedicate to some other shot. So it's crazy. And in that sense, they were very intelligent, and they knew where they needed to focus on, saying, okay, so this shot is a quick one. It doesn't add much to the movie. I'm sorry, but it doesn't add much to the movie. I mean, it's beautiful, but that's it. Let's not waste time in this, and let's not burn you out due to that. So because there are many other things that need to be done, and they were very intelligent in that sense, and they knew where to focus their efforts. And if that character that is flying off in the background is not going to be seen, then that's all right. So it'll be out of focus, so you can simply focus on Luigi. So this, in that sense, it's one of the most intelligent productions, as good as Fesser with Mortadelo, and then this one. Because they were really intelligent, because McGaha Illumination movies, where they spend more monies in promotion, you know, than when there is a Minions movie or whatever. The Minions are absolutely everywhere, and that's where they spend their money. These productions are expensive, but they can't compare to a Disney movie or a Pixar movie. So they are very aware of the fact that they have a certain budget, a certain amount of time, and where the effort needs to be. Needs to be. So this is one of the movies where I was really comfortable working, because they're not driving you crazy, because other productions drive you crazy. Because sometimes just to justify your salary, I mean, it might sound a bit harsh, but that's how it goes. I mean, they're not going to want to work with me. But it's like they're trying to justify their salary by giving me feedback constantly. I mean, is it all right? Then that's it. Just tell me that it's all right. So the French people, in that sense, were very good at it. So this is another shot. I also put it in because of continuity. So I really like this one, doing this one, because of a simple reason. And it's because in the layout, nothing really happened. Spike was holding on to him, and he was petrified, and that was it. And the layout, the one that I needed to animate.
Entonces dije, jope, pues puedes.
So I thought, okay, maybe it could be cool. I mean, I offered an idea, because that's also cool. I mean, they value the artists, and they let them provide ideas as well. And I said, I don't want to go crazy. I mean, it's not about trying to create your own movie in every shot, but if you can add something, it's something that they appreciate. So I said, how about this shot where nothing happens with Spike, in order to reinforce the idea that he's a coward, and what he does is just bully those who are smaller than him. Why don't we reinforce that by making him even more of a coward? And when the real problems arise, then he should use Mario for cover, and then push him away, and then flee. So I proposed it. They said yes. So it's a sequence that I really like. It could have been a very simple sequence. It's still a sequence, but I have put some of my heart in it. And actually, I'm wrong, because here they're seeing the explosion, and the first blocking that I did, I don't know why, but he started running the other way around, and I thought, oh, no, I'm dumb. He needs to run the other way. I mean, yes, it's great, but he has to run the other way. And after different screenings, they told me, you know what? We're going to add some mushrooms to it, and we're going to animate it all. So the mushrooms were added later on, and I had to animate them by hand. So this sort of animation is something that I find relaxing, because this sort of animation, mechanic, pure animation, if you have to calculate rebounds and so on, I really like it, because you don't have to think about acting. It's relaxing. You open your curves, you start playing, and I like that. And at the beginning, this mushroom here was going to destroy the car, well, the van actually, and they said, no, we don't have enough of a budget for that. So why doesn't it just push the van away? And I thought, okay. So once again, they were aware of their time and their budget, so they made decisions that were, okay, just leave it there. It's like there in the middle of the street, and that is it. And where I really had a hard time was with Spike's belt, that is filled with lots of things, and it penetrated and was a bit of a mess, so I had to do it in the end. But it's so fast that you don't even see it. And that's it. I'm actually very happy with this shot. Okay, so this one. So I really like this, because this one was one of the most cartoon sequences or shots that I've done in this movie, because I always use references, and I recorded myself doing this, and I had to improve it. It was not that I had to improve it, I had to improve it in the references. And one of the challenges, one of the most important challenges was to improvise something that I didn't have any references for, the timing, the poses. It was all different to what I was used to animating.
La manera en que se levanta.
So can you see it gets up? Everything is based on something. I recorded myself to see the supports, and I thought, okay, I'll do it this way. But then you have to exaggerate it all, because animation is not about doing things realistically, but credible. So finding that balance between being natural and being credible, well, it meant that I had to come out of my zone of comfort that many people talk about. It took me a while, but I liked it. And I really liked it, I enjoyed it. And there was also a car destruction here, that one, I think. That one was destroyed and I had to just make it fall, that was it. I don't think not even a single window broke, but hey, never mind. And where I had more difficulties in this was I wanted to exaggerate even more when he goes into the bin. And I'm gonna give you a mistake. You'll see it now when I tell you, but otherwise you wouldn't have seen it. When you do animation, this scene was not very well defined in the story. So I proposed some elements. For instance, the planning of how things fall, I just put them how I wanted to. And then they replaced it with real elements. For instance, I thought I'll put a box as if it's a tile and then they'll change it. And when it goes into the bin, I had put a stone. I can't stop it, but you'll see it. When he goes into the bin, there's a stone. He puts the foot on an invisible place because I had put a stone. I thought there was going to be a stone in it, but it doesn't. Okay, so here he's going to see that you put his foot on air. There's nothing, but it could look like he's supporting himself with the bin actually. It goes really quickly. Anyway, I hope you can see better. You can see that he puts the foot on air, but that was their problem. I had put it there and they took it out when they did the processing. But anyway, you know, it's just cinema stuff. And what else? I really like that. Good? Okay. Yes, if you don't see me over there, it's because we're doing well. Okay, but I'm doing very well or so well? So well. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you, Elena. So this one, which is the next scene, well, it turns out that I put it there, and a friend said to me, do you know the scene is a special magic? And I said, yes. And I thought, oh, I didn't know that. It turns out that it's in Mario Odyssey, which is the magic that you fall on your bottom and things blow up. And, I mean, well, it doesn't matter what I was going to say. I'm not going to say it. Anyway, I saw that and I thought, okay, so the animation in the video game is more limited, so I wanted to make it nice looking. So I looked at the video, see what there was, and I changed it. The thing is that there was no story in this scene, and when Mario hits with his bottom, he lifts up. There was no way to lift up. I recorded myself. I tried to get up in a realistic way, but it was not worth it. They said, no, he has to get up quicker, just make something up. And I was recording myself, and I was thinking, well, it's not natural. It doesn't look natural, getting up in such a quick way. So just like in the previous one, I had to improvise, and I just made it go like that, which was a bit difficult too, but anyway. Okay. All these happened so fast, but there's a lot of work behind it. And it took me about 3 weeks to do this. Okay, something so simple. It took me 3 weeks. Why? Well, because there are four cups up there that are blown out, we could say. That you can't see, but they have to be there. There's Donkey also hitting things. There are 2 others here, so they're there and you have to do it. So that was a lot of work. And then What also took me time was for him to get up, to sit in the camera. The timing had to be quick, but if I did it too quickly, you couldn't sit in the camera. So I had to adjust the timing to make sure it was quick, so to make sure that we could see that it was natural, etc. So here you can see it just on its own, but this is a very long process that takes a lot of time. And that's the good and bad things about animation. And there is a lot of work, especially in large productions like this. There's nothing that's improvised. Everything's calculated to the millimeter, we could say. And it's good, because this was like karma. 15 years later, when I was in Paris and I thought this is super easy, then it was my karma that got back at me. I learned a lot to look beyond that, to not to just agree with the first thing or with the result that you see, to always try to go further. So I learned a lot. I realized how good French people are in general, because this is a bit like the Spanish industry, you know. A large percentage of people are Spaniards, the people working here in Spain. And in Paris, in France, is the same. There's lots of French people working there, and there's not so many foreigners working for this. And I realized that French talent is very good and very powerful and very well deserved. They are decent competitors, not as good as us. No, they are. They're really, really good. They are. But anyway, I learned that. I mean, what's good about having worked in so many companies with so many people is that you get to know very different ways of doing things, not just from a business perspective with supervisors or the pipe being different, but you learn many things from your own colleagues. You learn a lot from them. My way of working was created 3 or 4 years after being on my first job. I mean, we all leave the animation school with our way of doing things. But when you start working and you start mixing with other people from other industries, from other countries, you start modeling your own system. And when I did Mario, I had already been in the industry for 16 years, so I thought my system was robust. And then it turns out that it's not. And you think, well, I hadn't thought about that. So leaving your bubble, exiting your bubble is very important. And I would encourage anyone who like to work on animation to travel. No, not to travel. Travel too, yes, why not? But no. You don't need to travel now, thankfully, because of remote, but to travel around companies, that's what I mean. I think it's great to be in a company and work there for a long time, but being abroad, working in other companies give you a different vision, not just from a business perspective, but also because you mix with colleagues, different colleagues that open your mind up. I find it a pity when you go to companies and your managers, yes, they're good, they've been in the company for many years, but that's the problem. They've been here for too long. Too long. They haven't left. And that is very, very important, and it's not valid enough. So I think you would have to try at least to work for other companies, work outside for a while, so that you learn new ways of doing things. And also what I've realized as time has gone by is that the more money they have, the worse they do things. Yes, because they have so much money that they don't care about anything. Disney does that. They're going to start the film. They're going to start producing without the script finished, without the storyboards, without the designs. It's crazy. In small companies, all of this is much more calculated and thought of. And I'm sure you've probably heard that the Marvel films are premiered without the final effects. They are premiered with the scenes as they are because they hardly have any time. So they premiere with whatever they've got, and then they finish the film, and then they send the new tape out. I mean, so it's crazy. It just makes no sense. It's like The Little Mermaid, the film, for instance, the new one, I think it was $600 million of overcost. No, in the boxes, in the in in the box office, yes. But then they still consider it a failure. So I don't know. I think you have to be very smart. So I don't know. I think this one was really good, and I think the important things in this case, donkey. Well, I don't know if they told me something about spacing or something very, very small, because they're not. You can't see them. You can't see him here. So, just that. What else can I tell you? This scene was the last one, I think. Yes, the last one I did. Yes. Oh, what have I done? I broke it. Sorry, it broke. I think I'm out of the PowerPoint. Don't worry, let us solve it. Just 3 seconds. Thank you. They didn't think of that. If you go backwards, you can't go forward anymore. I think I'm even out of Windows and everything, you know. I'm back. I'm really sorry. Thank you very much. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. There I am. I'm not going to hit it anymore. So this was the last scene. And it was the biggest one too, because they had no idea what they wanted. And I paid for it. This one. There was nothing here. They had a story that did a little bit, but not a lot. So this was a very complex scene because I had lots of characters. But the problem is not that I had characters, is that they didn't even know what they wanted. So I did lots of options in the way in which he was fighting. The little Wasitas that was he used it to use it as if he was on a bowling alley, and anyway, I changed lots of things because I wasn't sure what they wanted, and they messed me up a bit as well about this. But anyway, it was the last scene, and that's it. And it was quite hard, but it was all about doing very basic blockings. This is very important, and I think my previous experience really helped me with that, because I knew how to do blocking really quick. Blocking, for those of you who don't work in animation, is like the first stage of animation, where you put just a few positions. They put the character in just a few positions so that the director sees your idea, and that's it. You don't need to do a properly finished scene. So blocking is as if it was a sketch, we could say. So I did a few of those, and they said, okay, but can you give it, put more love into it? And I moved forward, and they said, no, let's change it. It was a bit of painful, actually, but anyway, I knew what they wanted, and the scene deserved it. It's not like before, where I said there's people who don't know when to end. In this case, it deserved it. It's true. It's not like in the other scenes that were not worth it. But one thing about this company that's good is that we all have a deadline per scene, and every time I went to the daily, and they told me that I had to change things. I mean, sometimes in Spanish companies you have to keep crying off. So even they changed things for you. So it was a pain, but it was worth it. And they pay additional hours, extra hours, so that's okay. No problem there. So I like this scene because I was able to contribute a lot from a creative perspective. And to conclude, as an anecdote, when I did the Nintendo review and the screening, I've never played, as I said. So I took Hammer Boy, where is it? There. And I put the hammer, I don't know, like a normal person would hold on to the hammer through the stick. I mean, I'm not a DIY person, but I think I knew how to hold a hammer. You pick it up from the stick, basically from the handle. I finished it, I sent it, and I received an email saying you have to change the hammers. It's the other way around. No, because Hammer Boy picks it up like this, the other way around, not through the flat, the flat side back and not forward. I don't know. It seems that he's not able to. He doesn't hammer in. He hammers out. He gets them all out actually, instead of hammering in the nails. Anyway, so I didn't know about. The only thing I know about is Mario Karts now. And that's it, and I've done it again. And that's a sign that I need to conclude. So anyway, I had to change the hammer to make sure that he was holding it the right way around. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Cristian. Quiero aprovechar para...
Thank you very much. I would like to congratulate the interpretation team, the translators. We think such as this scene has a lot of hurry, as he said, which is, I think I said it was really tough, hard. They say the translation went really good. Well, so don't worry. Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you. You can ask any questions.
Hola, primero que nada, muchas gracias por la...
So thank you very much for the talk. I'm a really great fan of Illumination. I wanted to know, you said that when you joined, at the beginning you ended up learning French. I would like to know if to work in MacGaff or Illumination, did you need to learn French? Or was English enough? Well, I had learned French when I was in Paris living there. But when I came to Mario 12 years later, I've forgotten everything, every single little bit of it. And you don't need it. Everything's in English, don't worry. But you need to know English. And Illumination is going out to premiere a film called Migration. Were you involved in it somehow? I was there for 5 minutes. Yes, I was going to go to the film, but in the end, something happened. But I can't tell you because it was it's been shot. So there was a restructuring, and they said no, you can't come in. You have to do marketing, and I didn't want to do marketing. So, but the film is going to be great. It's incredible. You've probably seen the trailers because they are now, but the film was going to be great. I think it's really good. And I was sorry I was not able to participate because I never done ducks in my life, and I really want to do it, but couldn't be. Couldn't be. Well, thank you very much. Any other questions? I'm just very clear, and I do things in English really well too. Anyway, you said that you were supervisor with with Mario you animated. What did you like, supervising or animation work the most? Good question. I think I've been supervising and directing for too long, and Mario was like going back to animating, I would say. And I really liked it. And I think that any good supervisor in any field has to go back to the roots and animate every now and again because you need it. You need to do that. You can't supervise or direct if you don't know the needs of your team and what they feel and how you do animation nowadays. So I like both things. For instance, the last thing that I've supervised about half a year ago was the second half of Crazy Bird, Pájaro Loco. And I wanted to continue animating because I don't want to disconnect from people. If you don't do animation, you don't realize the things. And if you haven't suffered it, you don't take that into account. And this is for Woody Woodpecker. So you have to animate with that. You have to animate. If you don't do animation, you can't supervise well. So I like doing animation a lot, and I think any supervisor would need to continue doing animation. I couldn't choose. It's great if I don't have to choose. That'll be great. It'll come to a point where I'll say, look, I don't want any more. But so far, I like both. Okay, thank you. Hi. Thank you very much for the talk. I wanted to say there is a theory that says that video games adaptations to the cinema or animation always tend to be disastrous. And I would like to know about Nintendo. How much was Nintendo involved in the production? Because maybe in other films, I don't know, Sega for instance, they just let the character go and they said, they give total freedom. So I don't know how much was Nintendo involved. Quite a lot, actually. They did screenings very often, sorry. And there was a lot of feedback. Things like what I showed up by the hammer, the size. Even in some scenes, they told me the eyes. They gave a lot of specific feedback. I used a lot of library, but I know that some colleagues of mine had to change many things because Nintendo was really very much involved. It took ages to come out because Nintendo had a lot of control over the film, so it was all very well measured, and not just the film, but the marketing pieces too, also because there were very few pieces because Nintendo didn't want, whereas Illumination normally does lots of marketing, but they didn't. Mario didn't have a lot of marketing. I think they only did one campaign in McDonald's, and that was it. Nintendo has it so under control that they didn't want the Mario to be announcing something or advertising something they didn't like. So no, it's well measured. It's not like Sonic. The Sonic has, I mean, for a single game that I played, which was Sonic, I mean, it didn't even look like it, but the film didn't look like the game. But in this case, yes, they were very much involved.
Hola. Bueno, gracias por la...
Hi, thank you very much for your talk. And you said that now you work from home, or you're working a lot from home, or can you tell us about the differences when you find in a studio versus working from home? How do you maintain inspiration? And I guess there are lots of video conferences, reviews, what you said before. But how do you also avoid to get into your bubble and doing the animation always in the same manner? And yeah, when I started working from home during the pandemic, I thought, wow, this is great, fantastic working from home. What else? And since then, I've been doing one thing and the next, and I just can't. I'm tired of being remote. I would love hybrid because it's great. You have freedom. It's great working from home, but you're too isolated, I think. So I think it's good to have communication when you're working from home. For instance, for Woody Woodpecker, we had our rooms were constantly connected. We were constantly connected, and we had a chat, and camera, and we could go in anytime and have coffee together, because you can't lose that. Some people love working from home, but I really think that I need to find inspiration, even if it's just to go and have a coffee, socializing with your colleagues, just looking at your colleagues' computer and seeing what they're doing and thinking, wow, that's good, what a good idea. And I think we lost that with remote working, and I think hybrid would be perfect. In fact, where I am now, at some point we'll do that, I think. I think remote is great, working from home is great, but I think we need more. Otherwise, it's really dangerous to stay at home with your crazy timetables and become homeless like that one. I think it's important not to lose contact. And also, I extrapolate that. Well, like when you're learning animation, there are many online schools, which is great because they give you flexibility. But the online system, in my opinion, is not as good as face-to-face, because you lose contact even with your colleagues that will always provide you an idea, inspiration, or a challenge. If you're seeing your colleague do animation, it's a challenge for me. I think, okay, I want to do it better, or I want to be better, and there's something that we are losing. And I mean, there's good things about working from home, but it also has a dark side, which is to become too isolated. For me, hybrid is best, if possible. So that's all. Well, thank you very much, Christian. Thank you. A round of applause for him again, please. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for everything. And I would like to say that we're going to have a 5-minute break. And we'll start with Victor Monigote, who's going to talk about the creation process of his short film, One.